Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 8th edition of TWitWoW Request Live. Today, we would like to thank our subscriber slash follower slash patron slash great guy slash honorary Scum Squad, not even honorary, full-blown Scum Squad member, Cliff 'em all, for donating $21 to make this review happen. Today, we will be reviewing the Royal Rumble from the year 2000.
Yes, and what an exciting show it was. You and I were talking before we went live, partner, and I told you that personally, I'd give this show an 8.5 out of 10 on the enjoyment scale and the quality scale. I thought this was a fantastic Royal Rumble. The world title match was exceptional. I enjoyed the tag team match on here, which we'll get to, and the Rumble match itself, not bad. I feel like it had good pacing, not too many surprises, but some good gags throughout. And yeah, I just really had a lot of fun with this show. What about you?
Yeah, man, this was a solid show. Really, there was some stuff in this that surprised me as well as how well it was handled, and then there was some good old, of course Vince McMahon would think this is a good idea kind of bullshit.
Right, yeah. So we're going to have a lot to unpack here, but yeah, let's just get right into it.
Absolutely. Before we get into this, make sure that if you guys are enjoying yourselves that you leave a like on the video, and let's get into it. We open this show with Kurt Angle cutting a promo in the ring, talking about how he's still undefeated, and, he talks about how this city needs a champion because God knows the New York Knicks are never going to bring one home or whatever. I think that it was the New York something. I don't remember what the name of the team was. It might have been the Knicks.
Yeah, it was the Knicks.
And, he's talking about how he's the champion and that tonight he's willing to be a champion for the city. And then he tells his opponent, whoever that person may be, to come on out here and give it your all. And make sure to remember to bring your 3 eyes with you.
Yep. I mean, I love Kurt. He's hammy as all hell. And this was Kurt Angle with hair, which is still kind of a weird sight all this time later. And, yeah, Tazz. This is where Tazz has his WWF debut. Crowd has a huge pop for Tazz. And you know what? The match itself wasn't really that long, but I feel like it got the right amount of time. And I feel like these guys really maximized their minutes. I thought this was a good opener. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of strange to me because I felt like the WWE wanted Tazz to come off as a heel. Because, I mean, between Kurt Angle, really, I mean, yeah, like, he insulted the city, so obviously he is the heel, but then being like, remember to bring out your 3 eyes and give it your all, like, he's like this happy-go-lucky good guy almost. And Tazz comes out and immediately, like, attacks Kurt Angle before the bell rings and then ends up winning with a choke, which commentary made the biggest deal out of, like, how is this legal? This is a choke. This, this guy shouldn't win. He should be disqualified. So, like, they did, like, basically, to me, I won't go as far as to say that this was a full-blown, like, attempt to ruin Tazz before he even got any kind of momentum under him in WWE, but it felt like it might have been sort of, maybe had some malintent to it.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that, because, I mean, let's remember, Tazz was not a WWF creation. He was an ECW creation, and you know how they feel about entities that aren't theirs. So it was
Right.
A bit weird that they kind of played it off this way, because I get what you're saying between, like, the choke and everything, just how everything went down. I will say kudos to them for letting Tazz get his shit in, because he was suplexing the shit out of Angle, especially towards the end of this match. He even got a Tazplex in there before the Tazz mission, which I thought was cool. So yeah, in-ring wise, I think he looked great in this. It's just the whole booking and just everything else that, yeah, it does kind of leave you scratching in a little bit. So, like, hooray or boo, but I mean, yeah, Kurt, up to this point really was that kind of, oh man, I'm so great, you all love me, right, kind of douche, and he does it so well that, yeah, I mean, you certainly know the Madison Square Garden love seeing him get his comeuppance like this.
Definitely, yeah, man. He's just such a ham. It's pretty hilarious, but getting his ass whipped. You know what, though? I'll also say I'm a little bit annoyed by the fact that Kurt Angle threw the first suplex in this match because was the one who was billed in ECW as the human suplex machine, and it took them months to let anyone suplex him. He shows up in WWE, and in night one, not only does he get suplexed in his first match, but he isn't even the first person to throw a suplex. His opponent is.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from there, but first of all, again, shouldn't surprise anybody because he's really a non-WWE property. And two, I will, again, at least give WWE credit that he was out suplexing Angle towards the end of the match. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Tazz finished strong. Like, he was manhandling Angle, I feel like, with those suplexes. And he was able to lock in that Tazz mission with ease. Like, Angle, I don't even think showed any resistance. So, yeah, maybe they could have done a little bit better by him. But given what they did do by him compared to other acts that come in from other companies, I feel like he came in smelling like fucking roses for me personally. So, yeah, good stuff for
sure.
Tazz.
Yeah. All right. So after this whole thing with the whole Tazz and Kurt Angle stuff, we can move on. We had an interview. Michael Cole talking to the Hardy Boys, and I believe this was Terry Runnels it was.
Yeah, this was, Terry. You're right. And talking about their tables match with the Dudleys. What did you think about this?
I mean, really nothing much to say here. The Hardys are just kind of talking about how they're gonna win, and then I think Terry said something about how they're gonna tear the roof off the place, and Jeff turns to her and he's just like, "No, Terry, you can't come out here. It's gonna get too violent."
Exactly. I do like that, though. That is one bit that I did like, because you figure these are two teams who I think at this point had somewhat of an established history with each other. And Jeff's just saying straight up, like, no, this is not a playground. This is not a place where, you can be and not be in the crossfire, especially with how the Dudleys are. So, no, you stay in the back. We're going to take care of this. It's going to be violent. So I like that sets the tone before the match, just to tell everybody, yeah, you're going to get what you paid for. And in my mind, boy, did we ever. So I quite enjoyed this.
Yeah. So up next, we had our second match of the night, which we kind of just led into with that last interview, the Dudley Boys versus the Hardy Boys. It's the battle of teams who spell boys with a Z.
Yeah.
And, of course, before the Hardys even come out, the Dudleys cut a pre-match heel promo just shitting all over this crowd, and it was great.
Yeah, it was. Oh, my God. Bubba with the stuttering gimmick. Do you believe? Just, oh, my God. Yeah, man, I love this. I think the guy they cited to the boozer everybody was John Rocker was his name. And it's like, oh, you guys are stupid. Like, if you don't elect him as mayor to clean up this crap city and all that stuff. So pretty much cheap heat, but hey, it's effective. I mean, New York takes the bait big time. Then the Hardys come out, and then I think what ensues is one hell of a match. What did you think about this tag team tables match?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, man. This was crazy. They were all over the place. There were some ridiculous tables. I think like the two most memorable table spots were the final one that ended the match, but then another one for me was when Devon was laying on a table and Matt went to do, I think, like a leg drop on him and fell through the table, and then Devon, by rolling off the first table, ended up leaning up on another one, and Jeff Hardy went for a tope something or other over the top rope, and Devon moved out of the way of that too, and so Jeff went through the table as well. That was pretty great.
Yeah, that was a great sequence. And you know what I loved about this match, dude? And I'm glad I thought of it now, because like I tell you, for these, I never really take notes. I just go for the ride. I loved that there didn't need to be material stakes for it to be a tables match. Like, this was not the WWF Tag Title match of the evening. We'll get to that later, because that was just bizarre in itself. No, these were just two teams, again, with an established history, with an animosity, and that was enough. I wish we'd have more of that in, like, the lesser-known divisions. I still think you could get that with the main event division. Hell, we did recently with Seth Rollins and Triple H. But I love that this was more of kind of an undercard scene, you know, this tag team scene, and then we're still able to go out and do something like this. I mean, again, I was a bit perplexed, and it caught me off guard with the first elimination of Bubba when the Hardys do the double dive. I think it was Matt off the ladder with the leg drop and Jeff off the top rope with the splash. And Bubba just stuck around and he continued to compete, I was like, okay, so he's not going to go to the back. But yeah, once I just kind of just let it go, suspended my disbelief, and I'm like, okay, it really is a free-for-all, try and protect your other man, playing defense and offense. I thought this was one hell of a tag team tables match. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. And I already kind of talked about my personal highlights of the match, so I wanted to know, I mean, you already said something about the first put Bubba through a table. Did anything else really stand out to you in this?
Dude, Matt Hardy's elimination with the power bomb, that was sick. I'm like,
with the table set up on the steel steps.
Yeah, that's a great fucking visual too. Like those tables just set up on those steel steps. I'm like, damn, he killed that man right there. And of course, Jeff has the classic spot, Dan. And we actually saw him do a spot very similar in our very first Patreon review, Survivor Series 2002, where he kind of, dives off that place that kind of just intersects with all the crowd through the table to Devon. And yeah, just Hardys get the win, which I thought was really cool. I would have to imagine that after this event, I don't know what the tag title match for WrestleMania 2000 was, but I had to imagine the Hardys had to be in the mix with a win like that. Didn't they do TLC again or something? Because yeah, I mean, this is a huge win for them. I don't see how you couldn't be number one.
That wasn't the triple ladder match, was it?
No, I don't think it was. No, but regardless, yeah, Hardys get the win. I love the big deal that commentary made of it, especially Jim Ross. God, Jim Ross, I love you so much. Right?
Yeah, it was the triangle ladder match for the WWF Tag Team Championship. Edge and Christian, Dudley Boyz, Hardy Boyz.
Oh wow, okay then.
Ha ha ha!
Yeah,
Look at me being more accurate, like shot in the dark, than you were with your actual memory.
Well, broken clock and all that, but yeah, Hardys get the win. Great tables match, and yeah, nothing else I could say about that, brother. We can move on.
Yeah, so up next, we had Kurt Angle backstage getting checked out by paramedics. And again, this kind of plays into the idea that Tazz was meant to be kind of portrayed as a heel because the paramedic was like, Kurt, you don't look into the light, look at me. And Kurt was like, okay, but did I win? Am I still undefeated? And the guy was just like, look, I don't know if you won or not, but you got choked unconscious. So again, like, the paramedic straight up saying that he got choked. Like, we're playing into this idea that the Tazz mission, which is supposed to be like a sleeper style blood finisher versus breath finisher. I'm not exactly sure if that's the right order, but I know that one of them is legal and the other one isn't, and this Tazz mission is supposed to be legal, but according to Jerry Lawler and this paramedic, it shouldn't be.
Right. Which, God, with Jerry Lawler, you could just write it up as, heels, they look out for each other. But then when the paramedic says it, it's like, okay, he really has no skin in this game one way or the other, so are you really trying to make Tazz look bad? Like a dirty cheater in his first night at Madison Square Garden? I don't even know what they would do with Tazz after this, because I could even excuse it if it's like, oh, well, from where I came from, I didn't deal with any punk bitches. Like, they could handle that. But clearly, like, WWF is just, like, full of little flowers or just something to that degree. I don't really know how they presented Tazz after the fact, if they're making a big deal, like, about this choke, when we all know what went on in ECW, which, to be fair, would be a very interesting place to take a character. But, yeah, just a very weird night to start out. It was illegal. He didn't really win. So, yeah, way to taint that victory for Tazz there.
Yeah. So up next, things got a little bit on the, how do I put this? On the misogynist side, maybe? On the risque side, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because we get Sergeant Slaughter, Tony Garea, the Fabulous Moolah, Johnny Valiant, and Freddie Blassie all out to be on this judge panel. Master of Ceremonies is Jerry Lawler, who then kicks Harold Finkel out of the ring. And we have the Miss Rumble 2000 contest.
Oh my God. I really didn't care for this at all. Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. This was the time period. This was the Attitude Era. This is what really the women's division was. Really, the people I was proudest of in this were Ivory and Luna Vachon, and more so Luna. She didn't even deal with that shit. She's like, I am staying in this. You ain't getting anything. Ivory, she did kind of concede to the people, like, show us Ivory, but she was not happy about it. Jim Ross even said, like, she is not happy about this. Like, she is a competitor. This is not, like, her area. And let's just fast forward. I mean, all in all, what was it? Mae Young, right? Mae Young comes out because Moolah was a judge, but Mae Young comes out, and then she's like, "Oh, they all want to see my puppies," and I'm like, "Oh God, no." And she does.
She didn't say they all want to see my puppies. She said my fans want to see my puppies specifically.
My puppies, yeah, and I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
Dude, I'm telling you, terrible as this might sound, if a guy who grew up watching her wrestle in those one-piece bathing suits was in the crowd, I guarantee you he was ecstatic to see her puppies.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have been in his 60s or 70s, but those, 60 and 70-year-olds go to these shows, so she definitely had fans in the crowd, even if they weren't us.
Yeah, there you go. And the only solace I take is that I hope that Jerry Lawler got scarred for life from this experience, particularly when Mae Young wanted to go even further and literally show her puppies. And then Mark Henry with the run-in, that added a bit of comic relief that I enjoyed. But yeah, I really didn't care for this at all. I'm just, given what we've gotten now, like, that's what I love. That's what I want to see. And yeah, I mean, if I want to be pleasured in that regard, there are many other ways to do it. When I watch a wrestling show, I want to see wrestling. So,
hey man, look, nowadays you're absolutely right. But back in 2000, the internet was still in its infancy. Most people who knew about the internet only used it for email. That was a viable business strategy back then because they were offering something that most people didn't have access to. So
that is true.
As much as I'm not a fan of the idea of objectifying women at this time, it doesn't work anymore because, like you said, naked women are a Google search away at this point. But back in the day, I mean, in 2000, I don't even know if Google existed yet. I think that was like the very, very early stages. I think it started up around like 97, 98, maybe 99. I don't know. But like, yeah, if a guy, that's the thing. I guarantee you there were hundreds, if not thousands of guys who ordered this pay-per-view just to see the Miss Royal Rumble 2000 contest.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, look, this kind of stuff went on for several more years even after this. Like, they knew it worked. Because, if nothing else, I mean, the pops it would get from the crowd, which we even heard it in this segment, that's your proof of concept right there. So, yeah. I can't even be like, oh, no, this and that. Like, yeah, it's bad. But, yeah, right. I mean, let's all take our share of accountability here. When that crowd fed that kind of segment, they could have booed it out of the...
Can I just say, who the hell thought it was a good idea to bring that BB woman into the business and give her a shot? Barbara Bush, they called her, but obviously it wasn't George's wife or daughter.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I know very little about BB. The only other time I've seen her before this was...
I think she was only in the company for like a year and a half.
Yeah, it couldn't have been that long, because the only other exposure I've had to BB... as a competitor performer, was the Armageddon 1999 VHS tape I used to own, and she was in the Fatal 4-Way Women's Evening Gown match, and they did it all in a swimming pool, and she was one of the competitors for the Women's Championship. Kat ended up winning that, and funny note, since we're already on this subject, that was the first bit of nudity I ever experienced, because she took off her bra to celebrate. So yeah, Attitude Era. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. So as far as the actual competitors, I just want to give an A+ for effort to both Terry Runnels and Jacqueline, because they put their all into this.
They really did, especially Jacqueline. Like, goddamn, she actually got my vote. I'm like, fuck Mae Young. And yeah, Kat was like beautiful, and her and Jerry Lawler actually dated. No wonder he got so excited about her. But Jacqueline, I'm like, I see you. Like, you are really doing this. And again, I appreciated Ivory and Luna just being like, nah. Like, Ivory, again, she did it, but she wasn't happy. And Luna was like, nah, fuck y'all. Like, I'm going to go back and be with the artist formerly known as Goldust. So, good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Terry and Jacqueline both. You would have voted for Jacqueline. I probably would have voted for Terry. I feel like Terry did a better job playing up to the crowd and the judges. Jacqueline just put more effort into everything. So
absolutely.
did want to, yeah, Paul pointed it out, and I wasn't sure, but when he said it was like a confirmation. Miss Kitty, a.k.a. the Cat, and Jerry the King Lawler were actually married. They didn't just date.
Oh, what? Right. I mean, he's such a divorcee, it's hard to keep track. But yeah, that was a thing.
How is that the unanimous decision? Because obviously she showed the most skin, and she was, the entertaining one, I guess. Whatever, Mae Young one. So they brought all these women out there and objectified them just to basically embarrass them by saying that they were less appealing than a 75-year-old.
Yeah, I'm just glad we can put this segment behind us, and really all segments like this behind us. And with that said, we can move on.
So, up next, we had one of two segments that we had on the night with Jonathan Coachman in WWF New York. He had a bunch of screaming fans behind him and shit, and it was kind of weird. But yeah, really, this was an interesting glimpse into the 2000 version of WWF.
First of all, my sympathies with the coach, man. Like, that, being in front of that kind of crowd, like, with them, like, grabbing me and being all excited, that would trigger my anxiety so bad. So I don't know how he kept it together, because he even was, like, kind of just gently, like, pushing people's hands off him and, like, no, okay, no touch. But, yeah, I remember WWF New York. It seemed like a cool place, and I forget when it closed down. But, like, as a kid, I always thought, oh, that may be fun to go to. And, yeah, of course, never got that chance. But, yeah, Coach just checking in on us. It's the Royal Rumble, and it's just at a fever pitch, apparently. So, good stuff.
Yeah. So, anyway, up next, we did have our third match of the night. But before the match started, we got, like, a brief glimpse into the pre-match ritual of Chyna and Y2J, where Jericho is, like, trying to get her to put the belt on him. And she's just like, oh, let me wear the belt for once. And he said, why not be chivalrous? And he's like, chivalry? What are we, in the medieval times? And that was a great line. I love that. And yeah, so then we had our Intercontinental Championship match, Hardcore Holly versus Chyna versus Chris Jericho for the Undisputed Intercontinental Championship. And this was the complete and polar opposite of the previous segment as far as treatment of women in WWE goes.
I know, right? First and foremost, it was weird for me to see Hardcore Holly contend for a title that wasn't the Hardcore Championship. Weird seeing him in the Intercontinental title picture. Second of all, I felt like this triple threat was surprisingly good, but I know I wasn't the only one that felt that way. I think you were probably even a bigger fan of this match than I was, so I'm going to have you take the reins on this. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought this was like a weird glimpse into what the WWE would have been capable of if they would have been progressive and allowed women to wrestle men and not been pigs about it. Because, like, you literally go from one segment objectifying women as sexual objects to then the next segment you have a woman competing for a championship, and commentary was better than frickin' Matt Striker was for most of Lucha Underground Season 1, as far as the way that they didn't even acknowledge that Chyna was a woman. They just said, like, yeah, she's in there and she kicks ass and she can take an ass beating and get back up. Like, they were great about it. I was amazed, especially with Lawler. Yeah,
I mean, it was really something for Lawler to restrain himself and to actually treat Chyna not as a man, not as a woman, but as a competitor, most importantly, in the confines of that match. And Jim Ross, I think he's always really been good about that. And yeah, Chyna did great. I mean, this is why. I mean, her doing stuff like this is why she was the first woman to be in a Rumble match or advance in the King of the Ring tournament or be Intercontinental Champion. Like, they knew the attraction that she was, and they ran with it. And I don't think they really cheated her in that way. Like, she was a competitor, and I think that's great. As far as the dynamics here, I really enjoyed them. I think Jericho's work at this time was just excellent. I've seen early Jericho matches, and I just think it's so on point. And how Hardcore Holly, I mean, bless his heart, he didn't even seem out of place in this. I think I would have preferred just another one-on-one match between Jericho and Chyna, because I have seen them work one-on-one with each other, and I think they have great chemistry. But Holly's addition didn't detract from this match at all, I didn't think.
Yeah, I mean, Holly, I feel like Holly is kind of like what Silas Young was before Silas Young was a thing.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I just think like the biggest difference was like Silas Young, like the volume was really cranked up, and yet thankfully they never really gave Hardcore Holly much mic time, which is why the volume really wasn't cranked up. Because I feel like he was always very average as a talker. But hey man, in the end, Jericho and Chyna. Well, I say in the end, but I mean they actually did have more interactions beyond this, which we'll get to later. But in the end, Jericho kind of wins the war here because he gets a lion salt on Chyna and he pins her for the victory. So Chris Jericho is the undisputed Intercontinental Champion. Funny how the words Jericho and undisputed go so well together. But what do you think about the result here?
Yeah, was this before he won the Undisputed Championship? Like the real Undisputed, not the Intercontinental one, but the real one?
Because the Undisputed title would be a year later. That's when Jericho really took off. 2001 was a great year for Jericho.
Okay, yeah. Man, that's cool though that you kind of picked that up. Yeah, I thought that really. Like, here's my question, John: is Hardcore Holly more or less of a redneck woman beater for not making any bones about beating Chyna? Because in a roundabout way, like, here's the thing. I don't want to make it seem like being willing to punch a woman is admirable because it isn't. But in general, I appreciate that Hardcore Holly is an indiscriminatory ass kicker. Like, if a woman steps up to him in a match and he knows that he has to beat her in order to win the match, he doesn't care. He punches her the same way he punches a guy. But again, I don't want to make it seem like we're advocating women abuse. We're just saying, in wrestling, where violence is violence and you're going to get violence no matter what, I appreciate that Hardcore Holly doesn't discriminate based on gender.
Oh, so, I mean, dude, look, let's look at it.
That almost makes him a better person than Son of Havoc was to start season 1 of Lucha Underground, because the first promo he ever cut was, "I'm not gonna fight a woman."
It's still one of my favorite promos ever for just how he said that. But yeah, I mean, dude, let me just put my cards on the table right here about this issue, because I think I know what you're driving at. To me, and we've always said this, wrestling to me is just another branch of theater. You know, I'm not advocating that really anybody, whether you're male or female, you go out and you randomly punch people in the face. Always have a good reason if you're going to punch people in the face. But, you know, this is wrestling. Like, I prefer my wrestling, and I love intergender wrestling. Like, Lucha Underground's really made me love it. But I don't like when these guys are, like, you know, scratching their hands, you know, wringing their hands like, oh, you know, I could hit you, and it's for the championship, but these morals that really are only grounded in a societal convention that's archaic. I mean, I don't know. Like, shut the fuck up and hit me, okay? Like, just pop me in the goddamn face. No, I appreciate hardcore. I appreciate people that are like, okay, you're in here because you want to be here. You're in here because you're intelligent enough, regardless of the genitalia that you may have, that you know the risks that you're assuming stepping in this ring. Because isn't that just the case? Like, if you're stepping in that ring and you hear the bell ring, you have to know what's happening. And that's what I've always found insulting when people hesitate, is like, do you think the woman was stupid enough to get in there without knowing what she was going to do in there? Like, get the fuck over yourself, bruh. So, no, I applaud Hardcore Holly, too, and it's freaking wrestling. Like, these people that freak out over intergender stuff, like, oh, I don't like that, or it's not realistic. Okay, that's not realistic, but The Undertaker is like a freaking zombie character. That's totally... yeah, we could totally get on board with that, right? Like, I don't know, dude. I just always find the whole notion to be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so, anyway, I'm glad we got to kind of talk about that, though. Honestly, that's the crazy thing, is that, like, I already kind of pointed it out. We go from Miss Rumble 2000 contest, where WWE proves that they're stuck still in, like, the 70s, in the friggin' Middle Ages. And then we go to this, where it's like, oh, this is what 2017 should be, but they've actually regressed from this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Especially...
So really, it almost makes me believe that it's almost as much about size as it is about gender, because Chyna was treated differently because she was so big.
Right. That's actually a great point. Like, you look at Chyna and her physique and her look was certainly unique.
She was always like this. She was always like this big muscle-bound woman. But here's the crazy thing, though, you guys. Chyna was this big muscle-bound woman. I think she was 6 feet tall. She was billed at 6 feet tall, 180. But guess who else is billed at 6 feet tall and more than 180?
Who's that?
Nia Jax.
I was gonna say Nia Jax, but I didn't want to put myself out there and be wrong.
I mean, and it's also worth pointing out that we've got 3 women in WWE right now who are 5'11". Now, granted, they're not 180. They're probably all 150 or under. Summer Rae and Charlotte and Alicia Fox all at 5'10". I mean, we can even see on 205 Live every week, Alicia Fox is bigger than most cruiserweights.
She is. Yeah, she is. And yet they're all confined, much like the cruiserweights are all confined, to that one division, which, man, if WWE would just have everybody mixing it up with everybody, how much more exciting that would be.
That's kind of what I'm getting around to, because, like, if Chyna versus Chris Jericho is considered a credible match, why is Alicia Fox not allowed to beat the shit out of Noam Dar? And when she does, why is Noam Dar not allowed to fight back?
Exactly. I mean, dude, hell, you listen to Sasha Banks interviews, and you and I have listened to many together. She's always said her dream opponent is Sami Zayn because she feels like they would kill it. Why not give them that chance? I mean, fuck, it's not like either one of them are really doing anything really spectacular right now. It'd be cool to see that match one day. And I mean, Nia Jax, yeah, look, that's probably the closest thing you're ever going to get to having Amazing Kong in your company, which they only did for a brief time. I say maximize that, get her in there with the guys.
Well, and I mean, when Kong was in the company, when she was Karma, they actually did use her in the Royal Rumble once.
Yeah, she hit an implant buster on Dolph Ziggler, and I don't even know if she eliminated Ziggler, but I know she
eliminated Hunico.
She eliminated Hunico. So, like,
and Michael Cole.
Yeah. So, I mean, come on. Like, just loosen up, have them mix it up, and I think you'd be surprised the results you'd get. And again, I'm talking everybody. Women against men, cruiserweights against heavyweights. Like, these boxes aren't going to do anything but stifle these people. And hell, if the women, and I say
man, imagine Sasha Banks versus Sami Zayn. That would be ridiculously fun.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Sasha has said, like, Sami is her dream opponent, and I'd love to see him mix it up. And dude, I'm telling you, and I don't say this to be a dick. I really don't. I'm just coming at it from my point of view, how I see things. Women have always said, like, it's our dream to main event WrestleMania. Well, I think there'd be a greater chance of that happening if intergender wrestling was permissible, because I think 2 women main eventing WrestleMania in WWE's mindset. I won't say it's never going to happen, because I do subscribe to never say never, but it's not going to be your generation. Like, if it was going to be your generation, I think intergender wrestling would have to be permissible, and a woman would have to win the freaking Rumble and just do the whole shebang. But, yeah, like, we got to keep, loosening things up here, because, yeah, what Chyna did was great. It was interesting. It was fun. The one match she had with Jericho at that same Armageddon show that I told you I had a VHS copy of was legitimately good. Had psychology and everything. Great match. And I think they need to give the new women, especially those talented enough like Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. Hell, I've been hearing talks that Becky wants to do a match with Ellsworth. Why not? I mean, Ellsworth is a joke. I could totally buy Becky Lynch beating him more, actually, than I could buy Ellsworth beating Lynch. So let it happen. I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Well, I mean, hey, man, this was cool while we had it, I guess. I know Jericho and Chyna feuded for a little bit after this. I'm not really sure how long that lasted. I don't remember very well. It's weird because there were certain parts of this show that I genuinely did remember watching, and especially the build-up to this show. And that kind of gets us into a match down the line that I won't get into yet because we aren't going to talk about it yet. But especially the build-up to this show, there was some stuff that I really remembered watching live as it happened and loving. So once we get past Jericho retaining, I guess, the Undisputed Intercontinental Championship, we get to a Michael Cole interview with The Rock.
Yeah, what did you think about Rock's promo here?
This didn't feel like The Rock to me. It was weird. It almost felt like him in like his early stages when he was still obviously super charismatic, but he hadn't quite figured out how to fully get the crowd in the palm of his hand yet, and it was just strange to see.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rock more or less, guarantees that he's gonna win the Rumble, but he puts that little Rock stank on it, and yeah, but not quite what we're used to yet. It's weird because figure this was the year 2000, but I guess what a difference a year makes, because from 2001 onward, that's more The Rock that I know that like always like freaking brought it, was high energy and everything. But yeah, this wasn't bad. It's just not The Rock we're used to. So that's all I got to say about that. Unless there's anything you want to add, we can move on.
Yeah. So as far as what I would add, nothing. The one thing that I really noticed with this interview was that he said, and I quote, "The Rock says this." Actually making his point way too often in this promo. Like, I think I counted him saying that like 5 or 6 times over the course of like a 2-minute promo. And it got so annoying because like I'm so used to him being like, "The Rock says blah, 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 blah," what The Rock actually says. But in this case, he said, "The Rock says this, blah, blah, blah." Like, then he said, it's almost like he was giving himself extra time to think what he was going to say, and he was like verbally buying that time and stalling by saying, "The Rock says this," and before any actual thought came out of his mouth. It was like Hogan's brother, like a verbal tick to give yourself more time to say what you want to say.
Yeah. I kind of picked up on that too. This is just a weirder Rock promo than I guess what you and I are used to, but he got his point across, and with that said, we can move on.
All right, up next, we had our 4th match of the night, which was the New Age Outlaws versus the Acolytes. Of course, we got a video package before this, but I don't really remember anything interesting about the video package. The funny thing about this match was there was a ref bump where I think Bradshaw ran out, or no, one of the Acolytes had Road Dogg covered, and then Billy Gunn pulled the ref out. And then as the ref was admonishing Billy Gunn, one of the Acolytes ran after Billy Gunn, and Billy got out of the way, and they ended up running into the ref. So that ended up being the opportunity that the New Age Outlaws needed, because then X-Pac comes out, and Farouk did have the match won at one point, but because the ref was down, he couldn't count the 3. So X-Pac comes out, hits a spinning heel kick, and really just kind of stalls for the Outlaws to pick up a win, because then I think it was Billy Gunn hit a Famouser on, I want to say, Farouk for the win, but it might have been Bradshaw. I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah, it was Bradshaw that Billy Gunn hit
Okay.
it with. This match was weird. I looked at the timestamp for this, and this match was only 2 minutes and 39 seconds. This was not a long match at all, which, again, I get to a point because it's the Royal Rumble and so much time goes to the Rumble match itself. But Jesus Christ, like I like it just seemed like you blinked and everything went to shit. I will say the one thing that stood out, I know he's been getting a lot of shit lately and deservedly so, but I will never take it away from Bradshaw. His lariat is fucking gorgeous. And the one he hit on Billy Gunn, who sells, was the original Dolph Ziggler. You bring those two things together and you get a beautiful spot. And yeah, that clothesline from hell was vicious. So, yeah, great visual there. But the Outlaws retain. Again, I feel like they always retain in just the weirdest freaking fashion against people. And they get the job done again.
Yes, they do. And, yeah, cheating because X-Pac and ref bump and convoluted. But they did win. And then we get to my favorite match of the night. And really my favorite promo package of the night as well. Triple H versus Mick Foley / Mankind / in this match, Cactus Jack. God damn, this was a work of art, my friend. The pre-match promo was a work of art, and the match itself was amazing.
Dude, this match was fucking brilliant.
This was the match that made Triple H.
Yeah. And it's funny because, you know, and even, I'm going to be jumping all around, but first of all, I do agree with you. The hype package for this was so well done. I love the story that they're just bullying Foley and bullying him and then firing him. But even after like firing him, still giving him this shit. And, you know, as Mankind, he wasn't able to get the job done. But Cactus Jack is this whole other entity. And see, this is the Mick Foley I love. I am so glad we watched this while he's recovering from hip surgery, because that GM run was fucking awful. And that's not the Foley I want to remember. This is the Foley I want to remember. This was incredible. And I loved it. I love that Cactus Jack had this whole different air about him than Mankind did. And Triple H, to his credit, he sold it. Like, he came in there, he got in the ring, and he had just had this look on his face like, oh, please, dear God, don't make me have to go through with this. Please don't make me have to go through with this. And you go through with it. And it's violent, and it's brutal. And the funny thing is, like, you hear the word street fight, and you think, okay, how crazy can it get? This maximized its stipulation beautifully. I mean,
This went all out. Like when you think, did they call it a street fight or was it like? Did they give it like a specific name?
I just remember street fight, dude. Yeah, street fight, and yeah, it was amazing. I mean, you had steel chairs, steel steps, announce tables, wooden pallets. Hell, that was a weird thing. Handcuffs,
Thumbtacks, barbed wire 2x4, yeah.
ring bells, everything was freaking used in this. And I love that because, I mean, you look at street fights today, and I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, this era was so much better than this era. But yeah, like, when you hear the word street fight, this is a fucking street fight. Like, oh my God, they went over. And I love, too, can I say, and again, I think Cliff even made a point earlier in chat that this is before Triple H went crazy on his shovel, probably because, his stock really took off after this point. I loved how great both men looked in this. I didn't feel like either man got bitched out. Like, if anything, like, Cactus Jack to me looks so fucking strong in this. I love that. Like, he would just take these hits and he would like it and he would invite it. Like, one of the earliest moments in the match, Triple H, scared out of his goddamn mind, thinking, okay, I need some kind of advantage. He gets a steel chair. Foley, or Cactus Jack, excuse me, he's just standing out there. Triple H is like, oh, come in here. And Cactus Jack's like, oh, you want me to come in there? You want to do that? And he does. Like, he knows he's going to lose, but he does anyway. And I love that. I love that this guy's out of his fucking mind. And Jerry Lawler's freaking out. And Jim Ross is all like, oh my God, think of the children. This match is perfect. I fucking love this.
Yeah, I mean, this match, like I said, this was a work of art. You could probably argue this was a masterpiece, but I don't think masterpieces are this damn sloppy, right?
No, not this bloody, not this carnal. No, I mean this.
Yeah,
this was
there was a lot of blood in this match, and it was all coming from Triple H's head and leg.
Dude, again, that's what I love, though, because, and I have to give them credit, just going back even before the match, the build-up, they made you know Cactus Jack is not mankind. Triple H is not going to have an easy time with this. This is his worst nightmare manifesting itself. And boy, was it ever. Like, dude, the pile driver he hit on Triple H on the announce table, I thought he broke his fucking neck. I'm like, he's dead. Cactus Jack wins via technicality. Because I'm like, God damn, how is he not a limp noodle after that? But, I mean, he kept moving. The thumbtacks, I mean, that bag was bulky. It was a big bag of thumbtacks. And when he's pouring them out and the match just glistening with that violence, I'm like, holy fuck, like, we're doing it. The barbed wire bat, again, going back to the Cactus character, because I feel like the character work on Cactus Jack's side especially was so good in this. Gets taken away from him. So rather than just playing by the rules and going with the new weapon, he's like, nah, I want my barbed wire 2x4. And he assaults the Spanish announce team until the other guy, whose name I forget, just gives him the bat. And then he just goes to town on Triple H's face. Oh my God, this is amazing. And then for me, dude, what really made this match perfection, because again, protecting both guys, I love the Cactus Jack kicked out of the first pedigree. Like, I love Triple H.
You know what? That actually brings me back. That actually brings me back to the triple threat, because Hardcore Holly kicked out of a Chyna pedigree too.
Yeah. And, like, I'm so glad they did that for Cactus, because I get it. Triple H was your guy at the time, the top heel, like, running the show, and you had to go with that whole angle. But Cactus, again, was built up to be this huge deal, and Triple H had to pedigree him on thumbtacks to get the win. And even after that, I love that they protect this motherfucker so much that only a few minutes after, he gets up. Like, he's up, and he's moving, and he still wants some. Because Triple H is being stretchered out like, oh, God, get me back to Greenwich. Oh, God, these poor people, just get me away from them. And Cactus is like, no, pretty much pulling a Braun Strowman. I'm not finished with you. And he goes back, he continues to insult him, and he gets him again in the face with the barbed wire. Like, holy fuck, he's a monster. And I love that. I'm like, this is how you build a psychopathic / monster character. This is how you do it. Cactus Jack, to me, in this match, should be the template, because I think they did everything right by him for me. Just great stuff, dude. I freaking adore this match. This was so good.
Yeah, this was a really, really good match. The barbed wire 2x4, the thumbtacks, just everything. Triple H won, and then if I remember correctly, Cactus Jack actually attacked Triple H even after Triple H won the match.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, this crazy motherfucker, after getting pedigreed on thumbtacks, is up a few minutes later, seeing that he's getting stretched out, and he's like, I may have lost, but this really wasn't about the title for me. I want to scar you for life. So, yeah, I'm just going to bring you back here. I'm just going to take you here. I'm going to get you back, and I'm going to hit you in the face again. I was actually kind of hoping. I was so into Cactus, and I was reminded why I love Mick Foley so goddamn much, even when he does horrendous fucking things like that GM stand. I wanted him to do that double arm DDT to Triple H into the tax. I'm just like, okay, I went in the tax, now you go in the tax, and then I'm done. But he didn't. It was just a 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire to the face again. And yeah, this is great. And to think, dude, that only 4 years later he would give Orton the same treatment at Backlash, and they would have their street fight, no holds barred contest for the Intercontinental title. And a lot of people would say that match made Orton a star as well. So I'm telling you, man, when you get to work with Foley in his element, magic happens. That was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, and like you said, man, or like I said earlier, rather, this match really made Triple H. Like, this took Triple H from, like, yeah, this guy's going to be great someday to, okay, this guy's great now.
Yeah, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. This was so good. Honestly, looking at this, if there ever comes a day we construct our top 10 favorite matches of all time, or however many matches of all time, this would have to make my list. I was into every minute of this. And honestly, like, street fights in the WWF back then, because the only other one that I really got into that I really remember would be Austin and Triple H, 2 out of 3 falls, and only one of those falls was a street fight, but that was done brilliantly too. But yeah, this was just excellence. Thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah. So then we had our final match. Oh, but of course we had to go to WWF New York first so that Linda McMahon could address Triple H's win for whatever reason.
Yeah, and not really much to say here. It's funny because
the McMahon Helmsley era must come to an end.
Yeah, Linda really had a weird hand in WrestleMania plans. A lot of things made this WrestleMania very weird.
I feel like Linda's involvement in just on-screen anything did a lot of bad for the company.
Well, I mean, we got some good out of it, like when she got Tombstone on the stage by Kane.
How was that good, though? Like, I don't get it, man.
I thought it was good at getting Kane that heat at the time. Plus, we got that Shane Kane feud, which I quite honestly enjoyed. I mean, call it a guilty pleasure, but I had fun with it. I thought it was great.
That's 100% a guilty pleasure, and I don't want anybody to be under the impression there's anything but that.
Well, somebody's very opinionated, but yeah, not really much to say here. We can move on to the Rumble match.
You might as well be saying to the Big Show, well, somebody's very large.
I know, right?
All right. Well, then we got our Rumble match, the 2000 edition of the Royal Rumble.
Oh boy. I have pulled up here a list of like the entrants. We start out with D'Lo Brown and Grandmaster Sexay. So yeah, how'd you think about how this match started out?
Really, everyone that came out in the first like 4 people were irrelevant because then Rikishi came out and murdered everyone.
Yeah, I mean, Rikishi just laid waste to freaking everybody.
Yeah, Rikishi eliminated D'Lo Brown and Mosh and Christian, and then it came down to just him and Grandmaster Sexay in the ring. And they were doing the face down like, oh, are we going to do this? Are we going to seriously have to fight? And then the countdown happened, and it was Scotty 2 Hotty, and we got a dance-off in the middle of a Royal Rumble match.
Yeah, and then Rikishi was like, okay, I'm done having fun. Boom, double clothesline, eliminating both guys. I actually liked how strong Rikishi looked in this in the early going of the Rumble.
And then Steve Blackman came out.
Yeah, and the same way you laughed, I just laughed more generally at how long he lasted because it really wasn't long at all.
No, it was 44 seconds.
Yeah, he gets eliminated fairly quickly. Then Viscera comes out, and we actually get a nice big man exchange here between these two.
I mean, You say that, but he got eliminated in under 90 seconds, too.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say that it was long. I said that it was good.
Right.
There's a difference.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was entertaining, but then really the match didn't really kind of pick up steam until the Big Boss Man came out at number 9.
Yeah, and Big Boss Man to me was always an interesting character because I feel like around this time...
Do you realize how big this guy is? Like, I get that he has big in his name, but I always saw that as he's the big boss rather than he is a big man who is a boss.
Right.
But yeah, he's like 6'6".
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That ain't nothing to fuck with.
He's bigger than Rikishi. He's not heavier than Rikishi, but he's taller than Rikishi, and he's not exactly a lightweight. Like, he's over 300 pounds. Big Boss Man was huge.
I feel like at this time, and maybe Chad could correct me, because I know at Armageddon 1999, which I think was the pay-per-view before this, because Rumble was always in January, you know, ringing in the new year and whatnot. You know, Big Boss Man actually faced Big Show for the WWF title. So I feel like around this time, Big Boss Man was kind of like that upper mid-card kind of spot. And I like that he used his smarts here. He doesn't get in the ring straight away. He's like, no. I see what you've been doing. I ain't playing that game. So he just kind of, you know, stays outside, kind of lingers, you know, kind of polices the outside area, if you will. And then the guy to come out after was Test. And yeah, I guess Test was still babyface at this time. It's weird to try and figure out like what people did before I actively started watching, because I've always associated Test as like that big Canadian douchebag, save for that one face stint, you know, with him and all of his testicles. So yeah, I guess he was babyface here. I know that like he had a thing with Stephanie until like Stephanie turned on everybody and was like, "Oh, I really did love Triple H all along," ha ha ha, and you know all that. So yeah, just weird seeing Test as a babyface here. Goes right after Boss Man, gets Boss Man back in the ring. Then everybody just goes after each other again. And then after that, we get the British Bulldog. So at this point, I'm going to hand it back to you. Do you have any thoughts you want to give just about these entries? Not the Rikishi, the numbers are kind of catching up to them a little bit.
Just kind of bringing it back to the Big Boss Man. The Royal Rumble 2000 was like a couple months after his ridiculous, like, big bad, like, the final boss kind of heel run where he murdered Al Snow's dog and fed him to him, and then
that's right,
showed up at the Big Show's father's funeral, and all that stuff happened. Like, that all happened over like a 6 or so month period leading up to this Royal Rumble. So that was what the Big Show, or what the Big Boss Man was doing prior to this.
So yeah, it really was kind of like that big time heel, at least like for his spot on the card. And again, like I said, he did get a WWF title shot, which I felt like was huge. I think he even beat The Rock to earn that title shot. That's why I said upper mid.
He also got himself a protege in Bull Buchanan.
Oh yeah, because I knew he had an association like at that Armageddon show with Prince Albert. But yeah, I didn't know about Bull Buchanan. That's news to me.
Yeah, in the I think at WrestleMania, Big Boss Man and Bull Buchanan teamed up to beat up the Godfather and D'Lo Brown. So
yeah, that's interesting to me. And then, you know, British Bulldog, I love his theme here in the Attitude Era. Like, I first heard that and I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I actually like that theme. Yeah, it's one of the more classic like instrumental type themes, and I'm like, yeah, I can dig this. I even still go on my own time sometimes and look that theme out. And yeah, this Bulldog, I like this heel run from what I saw of it, because I think he came back and he was really focused to be, yeah.
I haven't been paying attention to chat, but we've gotten 2 super chats from Cliff Amal. One very early on when we were talking about the Miss Rumble stuff, he said Jerry Lawler is a god among men. And then when we were talking about the Triple H Mick Foley match, Triple H Cactus Jack match, he said, for the longest time, this was my favorite match. So, yeah, there were some super chats. I got to pay more attention to chat. I've been looking at my notes and at the Royal Rumble 2000 Wikipedia page this whole time. So
yeah, I'm right there with you, dude. I'm right there with you. Really enjoyed British Bulldog during this run because he came back as like that heel with a chip on his shoulder. Like, he really wanted to be WWF champion. Never was able to get it done. But yeah, he was in this Rumble, and yeah, you know, so it was cool seeing him in there. When did we get our one surprise entrant? No, that wasn't for a little bit later. Then we get Gangrel, who the Brood still have one of the best themes ever if we're talking about themes. I just love the way that theme sounds.
I mean, the theme, really the entrance as a whole. Like, the theme was great, but that entrance is legend status.
Yeah, it is.
Rising up from under the stage, and then, you know, Gangrel spitting the blood in the air. Like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, just great fucking imagery. Like, I love it. So good. After Gangrel comes Edge. I thought they were going to team up. But, I mean, I guess not. How long did the Brood even last? That's a question I have for people that were watching wrestling during this time, and I wasn't. Because I thought they were
still a while, but I think the Brood started in, like, 96 or 97.
Okay, so, I mean, by this time, yeah, it was 2000, so them being broken up, that wouldn't be too much of a surprise.
Oh, no, you know what? It looks like they only lasted about a year. Wow, I thought they lasted longer than that.
Most factions tend to last a year. That's why I'm surprised the New Day are still together, honestly, because at least my time growing up, we know the Shield really didn't last that long, all things considered. And
Dude,
Evolution
the Shield lasted longer than the Brood, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, because, that's right, there was a new Brood. That's what it was. That's what I was thinking. Because there was the Brood, and that was the original run with Gangrel and Edge and Christian, and then there was the new Brood, and I'm pretty sure that was Gangrel and the Hardy Boys.
Right, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
But even still, like, the combined runs only add up to about a year.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
I just remember when it was Gangrel and Edge and Christian, and every now and then on Raw, all the lights would go out, and when they came back on, whoever was making their entrance would be on the outside of the ring covered in blood. And there was, like, this weekly thing where someone would get a bloodbath from the Brood.
Yeah, I think I saw, like, 1 or 2 videos on YouTube, like, showing that very thing from the Brood. I thought that was cool as hell. See, that's what I think we need more of today. More really out there gimmicks in the WWE. Like, that just seems cool as hell to me, like, the Brood. I'm actually kind of disappointed I missed out on that run. But after that, oh, by the way, I wanted to ask, because I know this had already happened, like, while we were talking about these entries. What did you think about the constant interference from Kai and Tai, Funaki, and Taka Michinoku, as well as Mean Street Posse?
Yeah, that was them, and the Mean Street Posse to me was weirder. Like, I don't really get what the point was, other than just the comedy factor, and it made me giggle, so I guess it worked.
Yeah, I guess so. I love, though, I shouldn't say I love, because I never know with Jerry Lawler. I have a very weird relationship with the King. There are times that he makes me laugh, and then times that he makes me uncomfortable. And him constantly, like, misidentifying Taka and Funaki as Chinese, really more so because JR kept saying, no, they're Japanese. Yeah, that was more uncomfortable for me. Jim Ross even straight up said, like, you know, stop with your xenophobia. And I half expected King to say Xena what? Because he normally likes to play the fool. But yeah, that was weird. Mean Street Posse, because I know there was a point where they were running with the British Bulldog, and that's why I thought they came out. But no, I guess they had the same kind of gripe that Kai and Tai did. Like, hey, where are our Rumble numbers? But I think Kai and Tai was funnier because they would get eliminated within seconds. So I think the comedy there was, oh, you're mad that you didn't get a spot, but if you did, it would have been wasted anyway. So, yeah, I like that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Man, let me tell you, these guys, the Mean Street Posse ended up running with Shane McMahon, though, didn't they?
I believe, yeah, they did. And like I said, I think British Bulldog came before that, but yeah, I think Shane was more with this timeline, so I think you're right. After this, though, we got our first, and in my mind, our really only surprise entrant in the Rumble, because none of these really pop out.
Bob Backlund.
Bob freaking Backlund.
Bob Backlund's middle name is Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, Bob Backlund, the man that will never take his meds ever, and if you try and get him to do so, he will break your arm. Trust me. Yeah, he comes in. I guess the reaction was decent. It's not like they booed him out of the building. You know, Bob Backlund.
They didn't boo him at all. They loved him.
Yeah, they really seemed into him. So, yeah, that was cool for him. I don't think he got any eliminations or did anything, like, worthwhile. But, you know, he at least got to be in there.
When you're Bob Backlund, John, existing is worthwhile.
You know what? I'll take your word for it. Fuck it. Chris Jericho came out after this, who, I mean, he's feeling himself because he's the new Undisputed Intercontinental Champion, baby! And he actually eliminates Bob Backlund, so sorry, Bobo, but Jericho, I guess, had your number that night. Then Crash Harley, the Houdini of Hardcore, came out next. Don't really remember much of what he did, but then Chyna came out, and where this gets interesting is she eliminates Jericho. She suplexes him over the ropes, onto the floor, and then Bossman pretty much bumps Chyna, so that's how Chyna gets eliminated. And yeah, so Chyna and Jericho continuing their beef, and I like that. I like that that's how they continue the story. They use two different moments in the Rumble, you know, Jericho beating Chyna, but then Chyna eliminating Jericho to keep that feud going. I appreciated that.
You know, John, I got to tell you, I'm kind of embarrassed that you wanted to move on from Bob Backlund this quickly.
Well, I mean, what did he do? I don't remember him doing anything worthwhile besides showing
Bob
up.
Backlund reinvented the wheel.
Look, it doesn't matter.
And invented the wheel.
You know what? I'm going to say it. He's old. He's in
Bob Backlund is the lamp from the Pixar logo.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Bob Backlund and Captain Crunch are Eskimo brothers.
Get them all out. How many more you got? You got to be packing more than that.
Well, here's a fun fact. Bob Backlund thinks Facebook is an STD.
And there we go. That's it. I'm cutting you off.
Bob Backlund can't understand why roofs aren't more popular.
Oh, my God. This is my hell. This is how it ends.
Bob Backlund is laminated.
Anymore. No? Okay.
Bob Backlund is made of Wilford Brimley's mustache.
Oh, my God. Are you finished?
Bob Backlund once hit a home run during a game of Connect 4.
No, John. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Bob Backlund thinks ladders are racist.
Be nice.
Which is why he is a fan of chutes.
Wow. Okay.
Bob Backlund smells like chicken pox. I'm done.
Okay. So we get Farouk afterwards. Farouk doesn't really last that long either, thanks to Mean Street Posse, actually. They do their run-in. Then Road Dogg comes out. Road Dogg, I really feel like he didn't last. Actually, Road Dogg, he lasted a good bit of time. He lasted like 19 minutes. He was eliminated by Billy Gunn. Then Al Snow, who honestly, like, his attire looked so basic. I guess this is when he was out of his, like, he was beyond his head gimmick. Because, yeah, like, he just seemed very generic. I don't really know what he was doing at the time, you know, besides eating his dog and everything. So, yeah, there was that. Then Val Venus, who got a nice pop, which shows you what colorful gimmicks can do when given time to breathe. And, yeah, after that, Prince Albert. And then Hardcore Holly, who, you know, didn't really have success in the Intercontinental title match. No more success here. Then The Rock came out, and that's when business really started to pick up. Then Billy Gunn, then Big Show, Bradshaw, who lasted only 25 seconds, Kane, The Godfather, and X-Pac. So that really rounds out our field. And really, I'll make it even simpler. Our final four in this was The Rock, X-Pac, Big Show, and Kane. So what do you think about this final four here?
You've got to admit, X-Pac was a real outlier here.
Oh, yeah, and I like the reason they gave for that, because commentary even kind of acknowledged that fact, but I think X-Pac had, like, a lot of help getting that 30th number because Triple H and Stephanie, you know, like, just gave him that because they were running the show, so they were looking out for D-Generation X. So, yeah, commentary addressed that. Yeah.
Man, X-Pac. You know what, though? As much of an outlier as he was, and as much as I was thinking, oh, well, of course he's going to be the first one eliminated, he actually got the first elimination.
Yeah, because X-Pac freaking, he eliminated Kane, which, I mean, hell, that just reminds me, and it's funny that this happened, because Kane came out with Tori, and I remember that feud between Kane and X-Pac over Tori, and it was just always, like, weird to me, but in a good way. I liked it. I liked how the story went, that X-Pac, in situations where you think he would be murdered by Kane, actually outsmarted and beat Kane. And the Rumble was just another instance. Like, you'd think he would just be able to grab X-Pac by the hair and throw him over the top rope. But no, X-Pac had that athleticism, that agility, and he actually eliminated Kane. So it just made me think, like, they would feud a short while after, and I actually felt
and
like...
then team up.
Well, actually, no, the team-up was before the feud, because they'd team up, but then X-Pac betrayed Kane by hooking up with Tori, who Kane really cared about, because, oh, I'm a monster, and I'm loving for the first time, and, you know, then Kane would come back briefly with Paul Bearer and just destroy everybody. He even tombstone Tori, like, I think once or twice. And, yeah, just, but even then, X-Pac was a slippery son of a bitch, because I think they had, like a street fight or a hardcore match or something like that, and X-Pac ended up beating Kane. So, yeah, X-Pac, he actually looked really credible against the Big Red Machine, and I gotta give credit to WWE for that. So
yeah, I guess that was in like '99. So for some reason I thought that was like an early Ruthless Aggression era angle, but no, I'm thinking of Kane and RVD.
Yeah, that is probably what you're thinking of. Yeah. So
I'm X-Pac. My thing is, I'm X-Pac.
But then you got Big Show, The Rock, and X-Pac. And X-Pac, I feel like, had been eliminated earlier, but he got back in the ring. But then he was just eliminated again. And then it comes down to Rock and Big Show. And this is one...
Yeah, dude, X-Pac, even though he was in the Final Four and he eliminated Kane, he was still only in this match for 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't have a strong performance at all. You know, it's a wonder.
Yeah. Meanwhile, The Rock and Big Show were in this match for about 15 and 11 minutes, respectively.
Yeah, it actually kind of amazes me that Tori would hook up with X-Pac, seeing as how he's shown he can't last for very long, but I digress.
You went there.
Big Show and The Rock. I will say this, like, I like the pacing of this Rumble and everything. I'm not coming down too hard on this Rumble, but one of my favorite parts of it is just seeing the interaction between, like, the final two guys, like, you know, all that tension build up and everything. You know, for as much as I hated the result, I feel like Roman Reigns and Batista, they had a good exchange. Jericho and Sheamus, the year Sheamus won, I felt like that exchange was fantastic. This, though, not really. I will say, though, it's still sick as shit to see Big Show do those one-handed choke slams and, like, do them forcefully, like, with dominance. When Big Show was...
Like, slam them down.
Yeah, when Big Show was actually, like, an athlete, like, in WCW and early in his WWF run, I could see how people could be a fan of him and how he could be such a big attraction, because holy fuck. That even reminds me, I keep talking about that Armageddon tape I owned. In that match with the Boss Man, Big Show did a kip up. It was just the craziest fucking... I'm like, wow, what a freaking athlete. And yeah, you even kind of see that here with that choke slam.
Wow, Dario.
Yeah, wow, Dario. Can I keep these photos? Sure, just get the fuck out of my office. But, yeah, man. This freaking Royal Rumble controversy that would create the shit stain known as the WrestleMania 2000 main event, which made no narrative sense to so many people. You know, Big Show just charging forward with The Rock in the power slam position. Rock slides out. Big Show goes over the top rope. Rock's able to hang on, or so we think, because then there's a controversy down the road. And The Rock wins. Now, a lot of people would say that it really should have been Rock Triple H at WrestleMania 2000, especially given the one thing about that street fight, The Rock made an appearance. He blasted Triple H in the face of the chair. Like, the animosity was there. Yeah. But no, as we would say...
I always loved The Rock versus Triple H feuds when they happened.
Yeah, I feel like they did great stuff. Their Iron Man match, I feel like, was really good.
I always felt like The Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold, and Mick Foley were like the big four of the Attitude Era and early Ruthless Aggression.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Absolutely. And you look at The Rock
with like Big Show, Kane, and Undertaker being like towards the top, but second fiddle to the top four guys.
Right. And, yeah, I mean, you look at The Rock cutting his post-match promo like, oh, finally, The Rock is going to WrestleMania. And, you know, so he celebrated. But then Big Show attacks him post-match, and he tosses him over the top rope. And then we get that whole controversy like, oh, I have video evidence of this. And with Triple H and Stephanie running the show, obviously Triple H doesn't want to get in there with The Rock, who's his big adversary at the time. So they do this whole mess. I mean, personally, I don't think I've ever seen the match myself, so I can't comment on the quality of the match, but I can understand how people from a narrative standpoint would be like, just do The Rock and Triple H straight up. And I feel like they did that at Backlash a month after, and that match was so good, they're like, see, that's what we wanted for Mania. So yeah, Rock Triple H rivalry, very interesting, but that was kind of a hiccup in the rivalry because Big Show and Mick Foley, who, I mean, I love Mick, but he had no right to be in that match either, had to get involved. So yeah, but it all started here at Rumble, and on the whole, this show, I, again, had a lot of fun with it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This was a really fun show, and really, from beginning to end, the only point that I felt even remotely negative was when I was feeling uncomfortable because of Mae Young and that whole segment.
I agree with you completely. That was the one segment. You would have cut that from this show, my score would have gone from an 8.5 to a 9.
I mean, you didn't even need to cut it. If you just would have tweaked it to make it a little bit more tasteful, it would have been more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, too. You know, really, I mean, I would have just preferred for it not to...
Honestly, the one positive that I have to take away from that is if you have to have a bunch of women doing basically a pageant, wearing basically bikinis, and by the way, another comment, what the hell was it with all of the women in WWE at this time wearing those horrible, like, way too big thongs that they pulled up to their friggin' waistline?
I don't know.
Who thought that was a good idea? Stacy Keibler needed to get in there and teach those women how to wear a damn thong. But anyway, if you're going to do a pageant, I appreciate that they had a judges panel so that they could objectively book the winner of the so-called pageant rather than leaving it up to a fan vote.
That is true. And I will give this credit too. Like, at least you put the comedic spin on it with Mae Young, you know? So I guess I could appreciate that, because if we were like doing it sincerely, like you said, with the fan reaction and nothing but like these beautiful women, but oh, she's, you know, prettier than all of you, so all of you can go to the back and feel like shit. At least they put the comedic twist with Mae Young and they left it in the hands of judges. So I will agree with you there. You know, at least that made it somewhat palatable.
Yeah. So, you know, finding positives where negatives exist. That's what we're all about. And yeah, that's the end of the show. We close with The Rock. Yeah,
we close with The Rock, and mainly Big Show just being like, grr, I'm angry because, you know, reasons. WrestleMania main event, it'll be mine, Rock, all mine. And, you know, that's how we go off the air. Any concluding remarks?
No concluding remarks, John. This was a fun show. We already kind of got our concluding remarks out of the way. So if you have any concluding remarks, let me know. Otherwise, we can go home.
No, let's go home, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this show.
All right, guys. So here's the deal. We currently don't have any other Patreon requested anything scheduled because the two that we are going to do next are both PWG live reactions, and neither show has even, I don't even necessarily think, shipped yet, DVD-wise. So there's really nothing we can do with that. We will be doing live reactions to both of the most recent PWG shows due to requests from Javaris Carter. So thanks to Javaris for requesting probably the most enjoyable promotion that we don't already cover heavily in PWG, behind, obviously, Lucha Underground and New Japan. But, yeah, we can't live react to a show that we can't watch. So we're going to have to wait a little bit for that. I don't know when that's going to show up. I don't know when that's going to become available. But as soon as it does, we'll let you guys know during one of our other reviews and tweet it out and stuff like that so that we can set some kind of a date for it. Other than that, I don't think we have any other Patreon requests to do for the month from the March Patreon donations. So the only other thing really left to do as far as Patreon goes is to just let you guys know that we are climbing closer and closer to that $200 mark. And once we hit it, we will be live reacting to every episode of Monday Night Raw. And that is the ultimate goal for now. We've already started live reacting to every episode of SmackDown Live. And I would say it's been worth it, although this past week's was a downer compared to usual. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if you guys can manage to get us up over that $200 mark a month. And, man, it's going to be a crazy, crazy time if that happens, when that happens. Hopefully that does happen. And, yeah, then you guys don't even have to watch Raw if you don't want to. If you want to just, you know, skip over the actual viewership of Raw and just come to the TWitWoW live chat and have a group therapy session over how awful Raw is and how much they don't care what their fans think, then there we go. So anyway, we're going to call it here, guys. Thank you to Cliff 'em All for the donation to make this review happen. And make sure to check out the description for links to our t-shirt store, our Patreon. You can like our Facebook, check out our subreddit, and of course follow both of us on Twitter. We do most of our like big announcements, whether it's scheduling or stuff that we aren't going to be able to do due to technical difficulties or something being delayed due to technical difficulties. All that stuff will be on Twitter, so follow us both on Twitter if you get the chance. And I think that's about it. That's about all we have to say. So guys, hopefully you all enjoyed this, and we definitely will see you, I believe, for Tuesday night SmackDown live reactions this coming week. I don't think we have anything else planned before then. And then there is a New Japan show that's happening not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday that we're going to try and live react to at some point the following week. But that, again, that's at least 8 days away. So we're definitely kind of winding down. We're giving ourselves a break after the amazing, 2+ week run that hashtag TWitWoW Mania, brother, ended up being. So we will see you guys for SmackDown Live reactions on Tuesday night when SmackDown comes on. Stay tuned, y'all.